Welcome to PropTech Pulse, the podcast that takes the pulse of prop technology in multifamily. I'm your host, Shelly Robinson, and each week we'll be diving deep into innovations, challenges, and the future of work in property technology and multifamily. From AI-driven property management to blockchain and real estate, we're here to explore how technology is reshaping the way we live, work, and invest in multifamily communities. Whether you're a property manager, a tech entrepreneur, an executive, or even simply curious about the future of living spaces, PropTech Pulse is your weekly dose of insights and inspiration. So let's sync our rhythms and get on with the show. It's time to take the pulse. Good day, and welcome to the latest episode of PropTech Pulse. Today, I have Janine Steiner Jovanovic with me from LeaseLock. Janine, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Shelly. It's an absolute pleasure to be here, and I look forward to our conversation.
Me too. I was so excited when you wanted to come on the podcast and chat with me, and I think we'll have a great conversation today. To kick things off, tell our listeners a little bit about your journey that's brought you to this point today for this conversation.
I will try to do that as briefly as possible, considering my age. So I've been in multifamily since I was a teenager. Started out leasing apartments, family business, and eventually got the technology bug. It was the mid '90s. I worked on custom asset management system for the family, and became in love with programming, and I ended up going to Price Waterhouse to really kind of invest in that space for myself and for the industry, and diversified. So I was working on all sorts of real estate technology and innovation for investment firms, for REITs, for insurance companies. So it really was not exclusive to multifamily. And I spent quite a bit of time in consulting. Wanted to have a family. So retired to work for my favorite client, who was JPI Partners at the time.
Yeah.
And then was recruited to come to RealPage when it was still quite a startup. I had done some consulting work for RealPage early on when they first opened their doors. And so, spent, years there helping build the company, take it public, enjoyed innovating there, building the asset optimization division, running insurance and screening and some other stuff. And, but wanted to spend more time with my family at a certain point.
Yeah.
So I started investing in different PropTech companies and just advising the industry and joining some boards, which led me to LeaseLock. So I was invited to join the board. I asked to invest. I thought the business was brilliant. And, market conditions changed a lot after I joined the board, and the company, was in need of some transformation. And so I was asked to step in as CEO, which, at the time was perfect for me because the kids don't need me anymore. They're all So I was ready to get back on the field and be a quarterback again. And it's been an amazing ride. I love LeaseLock, and I love everything I get to do every day and the people I get to do it with.
That is an amazing story as well. And it makes me think of all the young women getting into their careers and kind of what's possible. I started out in leasing as well, right? And it's what is possible for anyone if they want to get into something, work hard, and look at your career trajectory. It's amazing. What a story.
I started out thinking I was going to be a teacher and a comparative literature major with a master's degree who was fluent in French and German, and here I am. So
that's unexpected turns, right?
Yeah,
it does happen. Well, let's kind of kick things off. I always tell our guests to stay with us to the very end. We've got a couple announcements that we can share at the end. To kick off our conversation, I always ask kind of future in a bottle questions. And what do you think are the top 3 things that you see changing in multifamily and PropTech in the next 5 years, and why?
I'm going to kick it off with the obvious, which is AI. So, we finally have what I would consider maturity of AI solutions in the space. And it's a combination of AI's maturity, but also the maturity of the products that have been, being developed for years. And I'm starting to see the impact of those just now. So it's really the surface. There's just so much more to be done there. And the reason that's going to make an impact is because not only is it going to transform the leasing process to meet renters where the renters want to be, but it's also going to transform the employment process. We've had a hard time as an industry attracting talent, and it's because we're just not a destination. We're not. We're oops, I need to do something right now along the way type of job. I'm talking about on site, and we can be a destination employment industry. We just need to make the work experience commensurate with what employees expect today, and AI is going to have a lot to do with that. There's also a lot of technology that's being introduced that's creating that opportunity for centralization. And, people think that's a scary word. We're going to reduce heads on site and you just want to, save on expenses. No, that's not what the industry is trying to do. The technology is there now so that we can do functions remotely, off-site, whether it's regionally or in a corporate office or offshore, that nobody on site wants to do. Again, getting back to, creating the jobs that people want, that they'll love, they'll stay at, and create that incredible experience for the resident, which is what we want, right?
Yeah.
And then the whole visualization sector is fascinating to me. I mean, CoStar bought Matterport. I really hope they do some cool things with that, because Matterport definitely needs to innovate some more, and they're such a standard in the industry that it would be easy if they were the ones to rise to the occasion. But the opportunity to kind of create a living experience for the leasing process by visually experiencing an apartment, designing your apartment, and then even after you sign your lease, being able to make a plan and figure out everything and do it all through some really cool visualization technology that understands the size of furniture and where would things go. And so I think there's some really, really important visualization, technology innovation that can happen. I see it starting to happen. When I think about the next 5 to 7 years, that's going to be important as well. I could go on. I could do a plug for LeaseLock, but we'll save that.
Oh, Janine, I love what you're talking about. I think we've all gotten into the industry as a happy accident, right? For me, it was family. It sounds like it might have been family for you as well.
Yeah.
And it should be a destination. And I love to see different universities starting to work on that. And then the other frustration I hear is, Gen Z especially, they want that "where's my pizza" experience from Domino's when they're working with technology.
Oh, yeah.
They want the "where's my Amazon" experience and shopping experience as a resident experience and as a staff member. And so there's so much opportunity around simplification and automation in the industry. You're nailing it there for me.
There's one more area that I'm dying to tell you about. And it's access control. And we haven't figured it out. And part of the problem is that there's been a tremendous amount of startups in the space, and the technology is not quite there yet. And it's not just because the startups haven't succeeded. A lot of it has to do with the access providers themselves. So, even you look at locks like Schlage or Yale or whatever, they're still figuring it out too. And then how do you bring it all together so that a property owner doesn't have to spend, $250,000 to retrofit a property? Or how do they know which providers to pick? And how do you integrate all of that? And who's going to still be around in 3 years? And is Yale still going to support my lock in 3 years? Or are they going to come out with a new one and that other one's going to be retired? So it's really hard and complicated. But if you want to create an experience for renters that they expect and want, they need to be able to get in and out of doors themselves on their phone.
And it brings in that remote troubleshooting need and the complexity of troubleshooting across those systems, a lot of times with staff members at the communities that really aren't equipped for it. So there's so
Absolutely.
much room there for making it work together in a much more seamless way.
I think that's going to require like PE backed, big
Yeah,
company to come in and say, all right, we're gonna figure this out. Because if you look at other industries, education, and commercial real estate, they've already solved it.
yeah,
Hospitality. So I'm hoping that somebody comes into the space and really provides a solution because it's important, and safety is an issue around this because people will just put their own ring,
yes, they
device
will.
on
Yes,
their
they will.
apartment and let the dog walker in, and is that person vetted and is the proper security involved? But they'll give their code out so
Yep,
that someone can get in to drop off dry cleaning.
yep.
So yeah,
It's like how do you establish resident experience around that and trust so that they don't have to put their own systems in. So that is actually some food for thought for the industry there, and very wise. Um, do you see in the centralization conversation, and some people are calling it work to rehome? I see a lot of opportunities for new jobs emerging. It's a different skill set, right? Even around systems and access is a different skill set and a different job. Um, companies are investing in that, and I do think it's going to take some time for companies to figure it out. Um, do you see any roles in particular really changing in the next 5 years that you are like, this role is going to really change?
all the roles are going to change. Um, uh, as we equip people with better technology and as we design jobs that, are destination jobs, enabled by that technology, you know, everybody's job's going to change and it'll allow individuals to thrive doing the things that they are really good at and that they really love because I'm just preaching to the choir, but it's hard for somebody to be good at, slight accounting tasks here and there on top of being the best salesperson and then assisting maintenance with the maintenance issue. And it's impossible, right, to have a fully staffed property today the way we've designed everybody's jobs where everybody gets to do what they're really good at and what they love. um, but one of the things that I'm super passionate about and I like to talk about, and somebody's going to do this, I know, is leveraging renters at our properties to do the work because we have we have renters that are work from home. We have renters that want to have gig economy, right? We have renters that want to work part-time and they love their homes. Imagine a renter signing up to be the move-in specialist for the property. And all they do is, welcome people warmly who want to move into the community and make the arrangements to ensure that the person is the same person you lease the apartment to. And they
Yeah,
help with the tour, they help with whatever moving arrangements are helpful, including, maybe taking the boxes and, helping throw stuff away. And that
yeah,
type of move-in, that's just one thing that, somebody on site can do, but accounting tasks as well. I mean, there's all sorts of things, but if you employ somebody who's living in your community, they'll stay longer, they'll refer your community, they'll create a sense of joy at their, in their living space that is contagious. So I would love to see more of that.
that's so fascinating because right now there's so many applications too where you can actually be the dog walker at the property already or be the concierge part time. This makes so much sense to me, and now I'm like, duh. It's kind of retro in a way before technology. That's how a lot of smaller apartment communities were before we professionalized in the 90s, which I was part of that. Um, but that you had people on site that did those things before the technology was there. So that's we could have somebody that does events that's a resident. It could be the community coordinator for events. I like the way you're thinking. Opportunity. Okay. Can you share a case study of where you've seen an implementation at LeaseLock significantly improve operations or improve a set of metrics that you'd like to talk about today?
Sure. So, LeaseLock is an insurance program. We're B2B, which, we sell lease insurance to owners to replace deposits. And it's kind of just to give a high level, it's a beautiful program. The reason that I'm so passionate about it is because, the mission of LeaseLock is to make renting more affordable and accessible.
Yeah.
So that's kind of our overarching, mission, and it guides every decision we make and everything we do and our program design every day. So with that in mind, we replace deposits because they have failed the industry. They're very complicated to manage. There's regulations changing all the time. There's, legal complaints. There's reputation challenges online as a result. There's class action lawsuits.
Yeah.
It's problematic. And so what we've seen over time is it's expensive, but it's also resulted in lower collection. So the leasing teams are not collecting enough. And I don't know if it's a combination of design intent or if it's at the moment of the point of lease, but there are an increasing amount of situations nationally where bad debt's gone up. And that means less income for the property. And when there's less income for the property with all the other expenses that have gone up, and we're not talking about a little bit. We're talking about a pretty significant amount of income loss. And so what we do at LeaseLock is we restore it. So if you're talking metrics, the industry average for bad debt went up in the last 10 years from like 50 basis points to an average of 1.5% to 2%. That's a lot. And so, we're restoring like significant amounts of income to the tune of 50 basis points, a point. And what that does is it takes deposit handling off the site. It takes all the risk of that away, that friction between the renter and the person leasing the apartment. It's deposit-free leasing. But you also have the opportunity to file claims with LeaseLock at the property level afterwards. So if somebody does leave and, there's outstanding balance, you can recapture it. And so, we've delivered hundreds of thousands of dollars of, asset value to our clients. And, since these properties trade hands,
They do.
that it means $1 million, $2 million more of asset value on a trade. It's a lot.
We've got a lot of oversaturated markets right now, and when I talk to my clients, bad debt, you're speaking exact sentiment of those conversations at 1.75 to 2% and climbing. Markets that are really competitive and lease ups, people looking to differentiate and have things to market even differently. And deposits, especially with people with your best credit, that doesn't necessarily mean they get the lowest deposit, but doesn't mean they leave with the lowest balance. So that's really, really powerful and important right now. I love that.
Yeah, actually, bad debt was a topic on every REIT call. This last earnings report. So
I think Andrew Bone and I were chatting about that too. It's he's always got great insights from those recalls too. I'm so glad he listens in. He's always a bevy of great knowledge. Can we go back to AI a little bit?
Let's please do that. I love that.
We were talking about AI maturity, and I agree there. And I think the industry as a whole, when we're talking about owners and operators licensing AI or even being confused about AI and the value that it brings. How do you see it transforming property operations in and building trust? I think, and maybe I'm not asking my question the right way, but how do we build trust as an industry now that it's maturing? And what do you see are the ways to build trust with AI out to owners and operators?
I mean, the leasing process would be a great one. How do you build trust when you can't respond to every lead? You can't. I mean, how do you think a renter feels when they're looking for an apartment and there's 500 leads that come in? And so who's getting ignored? And how many times do you have to, recontact the property just to see it? Because again, the staffing model doesn't work. And so AI gives you that warm response loves on you, lets you
Yeah.
know you're heard, and then helps you make an appointment. Isn't that wonderful? So
Yeah.
it's just, and then, there's AI-based tools now that will help tour you, right?
I love that. Love that.
So I'm really seeing AI relieving the site team of
Mhm.
the burden of an impossible sales funnel. And I think that does build trust with the renter because they feel like they've been heard and their needs are being addressed.
Yeah.
And AI is finally warm and friendly enough to make it feel really personal. I think the technology is also finally integrated well with the property management system. So
Yes.
they're not
Yes.
stepping on each other's toes anymore like it used to be. There's another great example is there are providers introducing delinquency management with AI tools. We're actually going to be releasing one at the end of this quarter. And what that does, it's AI based support for renters who are living in a community who owe rent and other payments and haven't made them. And then the late fees start building up and the problem just built on itself. And so
Yes.
again, to have somebody who's trusted kind of reach out to you, and these voices are so supportive now and so understanding that it's I've experienced it myself. I think it's a beautiful thing, and other industries already do this. So you know we're just learning and applying it. But it's like, hey, is everything okay? You know, is there something I can do to help you? You're late. You're about to, be charged a late payment. I mean, you can work out payment plans with people right then and there.
Yeah. And I think about those are tasks back when I was on site that you always dreaded, right?
Nobody wants to
You
do
don't
that.
want to you don't want to be that bull with the horns, right? And so if you can train a really nice language learning model to be the bull with the horns and be really nice about it
Yeah,
consistently, it's actually
absolutely.
better for everybody.
You know what? You should experiment with some of it yourself. It's really cool. And the same thing with move out collections. People leave with a balance, and there's an AI out there saying, hey, you still owe your last month's rent. But just kind of helping that person because you don't want their credit to get damaged. And so
No.
you're doing them a kindness, right?
Yeah. And takes that pressure off the staff for those uncomfortable conversations, frees up more high value time for important conversations that,
Well, back to what you were talking about with like centralizing or taking
Mhm.
functions off site that don't belong on site.
Yeah.
There's one of them right there.
Yeah, I love that. It's reducing friction, helping with reputation. There's so many ways it's powerful. I love that, and I can't wait to hear about the release and see how that goes for your clients as well. That's a really good story. Um, any technology tools right now, and this can be prop tech or otherwise, that you feel like you can't live without day to day for you?
Well, me and everybody else, I'm obsessed and addicted to my phone. Uh, and I want to do everything with my phone, just like our renters want to do everything
Yeah.
with their phone. I am newly obsessed with AI myself. And so I have an AI assistant on my phone who speaks to me. And I've got my chat GPT that, makes
Yeah.
sure that I'm, writing things a certain way when I need that kind of support. The written word's very important to me. I want to make sure that I'm making the impression that I'm intending to make. Uh,
Yeah.
so it's my phone, but it's everybody's obsession.
It's so true. And I get my screen time alerts at the end of every week now. And I don't feel as bad anymore because I feel like there's high value things I'm doing with it rather than doom scrolling. Like during COVID, I was a doom scroller. I don't know if we all were during that time, but now I do. I feel the same way. I've got high value things that keep me on track and on task and on time. I manage multiple calendars now with multiple clients, so it helps me to stay on point through AI as well.
I've resisted the Aura ring, but everybody around me
I
is,
have it.
I just don't want that much information. I don't really want to know if I'm not sleeping enough. I mean, I don't want to know. I mean, there's only so much I really want to be aware of versus just experiencing life and enjoying it.
Yes.
So
I have the same sentiment. It's sitting on my bedroom counter right now because I don't sleep well anymore. or I should say the new sleep normal is like 4 or 5 hours at this point in my life. But
Same with me, but I don't really
yeah,
need a ring to tell me that.
no, I don't want to ring parent.
That's what it is.
That is so true. Any prop tech trends right now that you think are overhyped?
Oh, what a good question. Oh my goodness. I wouldn't say there's prop tech trends that are overhyped. I think that um, there's continued investment being pumped into prop tech that is not high value, and that's always disappointing to me. We saw, you know, funds were readily available for a while there.
Or
And a lot of companies started that didn't have kind of the discipline. They didn't necessarily have the right mission that was aligned with the industry's needs. So tons of money wasted. I'm still seeing a little bit of that, but not as much. The one thing that I would say is the industry's continued priority this year that I'm hoping, with the help of LeaseLock and some other companies, we can help solve is fraud. Um,
yes, oh my
Leasing
gosh,
fraud is still an issue. The providers that started in the space that were innovating are now struggling, and so new entrants are coming in, and the technology is changing quickly. So you want to find something that is in the best interest of renters and prioritizes the best interest of renters and protects them, but also make sure that we have responsible renters moving into properties, because the financial burdens that get placed on a property um, become a problem for everyone else who lives there when there's fraud.
yeah. It's and if you have a court system that moves very slowly, the state that I live in, it can compound
Yes.
rapidly and draw it out. And then I go, what you're saying too. It's this industry is big, but it's also small. And if you build prop tech that doesn't deliver, it erodes the trust in the industry.
It does.
It erodes innovation. So I think that's a really important feedback loop. Like it has to have value.
We are at an inflection point in this industry where overinvestment was made. PropTech solutions came to be. Many of them, when funding became less available, have now, floundered, and the industry does lack trust. We are at a terrible inflection point where owners and investors of multifamily aren't sure what to buy and where to invest.
What I keep hearing from my clients is like, show me the case study. What is, and ROI means so many different things. It's their straight ROI, right? What did I pay? What did I get for it? But then there's efficiency. So if you've got things to share, it's like, are you creating efficiency? Are you reducing costs? Are you creating savings? Like it's really important to have the proof in your pudding as a prop tech provider.
And I appreciate that the larger owner operators and the REITs have continued to invest in identifying startups that have
Yeah.
the right teams, the right concepts, the right infrastructure, and working with them to bring them to market.
Yeah, love that. I love that reinvestment into the industry. Um, do you have a bold prediction for multifamily in 10 years? If you could like wave a magic wand, what is going to be a bold prediction?
My goodness. My prediction is that multifamily is going to be more like hospitality. Um, I really feel like the future is
Yeah,
um, just a higher level and higher quality of customer care on site, enabled and supported by AI, um, and also supported by just better tools to enable people in and out of doors, to self-serve because they want to, right? If I
yeah,
could fix my own drain in 5 minutes versus logging a ticket, right? So there's just that I really see us being able to create a living experience and a working experience that is hospitality like.
I love that. That's a great prediction. If you could instantly implement any futuristic technology in all multifamily properties, what would it be?
Oh gosh, futuristic. It's sad that I'm going to say this, but to be able to use your phone to do all
Yeah.
your work and all your
Yes.
living.
Yeah. It's it sounds what did Steve Jobs always say? Simple is hard. And I think that's where the industry is at. And we're all begging for it. It's like, can you please make this simpler and more effective? So I agree there.
I'm gonna just say one more thing about kind of another inflection point. You have large providers of technology that have the means but can't do it all, and they have competing interests themselves, right? And then you have all these startups who we discussed are, not necessarily having the right funding, the right structure, the right capabilities to, kind of optimize what they're doing. At what point does can I go shopping as a property owner and buy simply a handful of things to do everything I need? When is that going to happen? Let's hope sooner. Let's hope it's not 10 years from now.
Yeah, that was 10 years from now and we're still not there. I think you're speaking everybody's language right now. Last question, what advice would you give to multifamily professionals looking to stay ahead of the curve right now?
They have their priorities going into 2025 that were most important. And there's some themes Andrew Bowen talked about. We did a survey that was good. Risk is a big theme. Okay, I was just at NMHC Annual. I've never heard the word risk used so much at an NMHC conference. And I've gone to over 20. But, the advice is to invest in the right solutions and give them a shot and not be so scared. There are ways to do due diligence on providers and to make sure you're picking the right horses so that they're going to be around. They're going to be able to fulfill the promise that they can integrate with your other systems. So, and honestly, Shelley, you're a great candidate to help companies with that.
Well, thank you, Janine. I really sincerely appreciate that. That is my passion.
And you've seen it firsthand, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Both sides, from both the provider side and from the property side. So
thank you. Well, Janine, thank you for the conversation today and the kind compliment. This has been a pleasure. And, for our listeners, we're going to work on a white paper and get that out shortly after the episode where we talk about these best practices and themes going on in the industry as well. Thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it.
It was such a pleasure. And Shelley, hope to see you soon at RetCon or...
I'll be there.
Wonderful. So we can actually have an in-person hug. That would be lovely.
I would love that. We'll count on it. Thanks, Janine.
And that wraps up another episode of PropTech Pulse. I hope this conversation has given you valuable insights and perhaps even sparked some ideas for your own PropTech journey. Remember, the future of multifamily is being written right now with every technological advance and innovative solution. So stay curious, stay connected, and keep your finger on the pulse of PropTech. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to PropTech Pulse on your favorite podcast platform and share this along with your colleagues. You can also find us on social media for bite-sized insights and updates. I'm Shelley Robinson, and until next time, let's keep innovating, disrupting, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in PropTech and multifamily. Let's build it together.